Shadow of Truth with your host Dave Kranzler from investmentresearchdynamics.com and Rory Hall from thedailycoin.org. And we have Mr. Claudio Grass from globalgold.ch on the line with us today. How are you today, Mr. Claudio?
Hello, friends. Well, doing fine. Thank you very much. What about you?
Doing all right. Dave, how are you doing today?
Fit as a fiddle.
Fit as a fiddle. Well, on that happy note, we'll dive in and see where we go.
Well, there's certain days when I wake up and the blatantness of the gold and silver manipulation really agitate me, and there's other days that it doesn't. And today's one of those days when it really agitates me.
I gave up. I'm not. When I see what's happening in the gold market, at the end of the day, I think it's gold is still it's the currency. I mean, you look at how much they traded last year, the paper market for gold. I think it was 188 times the annual supply, or 3 times all the gold which has been digged out of the ground so far. I think 530,000 tons, as far as I know. So I mean, of course, paper always has an impact. And I've just spoken to the refineries and some other partners. I mean, the demand side is it's quiet at the moment because you really have people. I think it's in the bottom of the sentiment in a way. And of course, you have decreasing real economy also in Asia and especially in China. So it's always an outcome. No one wants to crash the system, but I think. The demand for physical gold will stay strong, and more people will realize in the future that still, the backbone for our current monetary system is gold. In my point of view, and that's why all the central banks are still acquiring physical gold. So that's a little bit the way I see it, and we buy gold as an insurance. I mean, we don't buy to speculate. But even our clients, they are not there to speculate. They really want to have something tangible. A real hard asset without any liabilities or counterparty risk. And that's why they buy physical gold and also physical silver, and they put it on the side and they wait. The insurance has to perform, and it has to perform. And that's when the actual system is going down the drain.
Well, you just opened up 2 questions for me there, Claudio, with this referencing the sentiment and the Swiss gold refiners. And because I know I know that you speak with them on a pretty regular basis. And the sentiment, I was speaking with Taki a few days ago, your colleague and friend over in Belgium, and he operates goldsilverworlds.com. And he and I were discussing the fact that nobody is writing anything positive, or there's very little being written about silver in particular, or about gold, but there's plenty of the mainstream media attack dogs out there, just going after gold. Gold is really just a thermometer that indicates the health of an economy. And if the thermometer is broken by being rigged, I mean, we're really just guessing at what's happening with our economy. The statistics are meaningless. What the euro, the yen, the dollar, the Swiss franc, all of them, none of them mean anything. Their purchasing power is completely unknown, and even the rate of inflation. Nothing works properly. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you think that I'm just wandering around in the woods?
No. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, look at. I mean, the real economy is really still. Nothing has changed. I mean, it's still going down. Unemployment rates, are still the same, or even going up. We have mortgages, not mortgages, but the rentals, pension, not pension, but insurance policies and all that stuff. Basically it's going up in prices. Central banks are printing money like there is no tomorrow. Now they're even talking about, to ban cash. In the future, I think that's a very interesting idea because it just shows, and I think also when it comes to Greece, for example, everyone is expecting that Greece will be kicked out of the Eurozone. I really have, the longer I think about it, the more doubt I have. I think, this is really, what they want to do is really centralizing the system even stronger. And if they really can ban cash, then they will have the possibility, first of all, they have a possibility to track everyone. to see, what is he doing, what is he paying, what is he buying, and so on. And of course, at the same time, then they would have a possibility to implement negative interest rates. I just heard an interview from Professor Joseph Salerno, with the Mises Institute, and he was saying that even in Greece, that they have you have to pay a kind of higher tax when you want to withdraw cash from the machine. So I think what we might have, what we can look in the future. First of all, I believe Greece will stay in the eurozone, and secondly, I believe Greece might be a new test case. To go away with cash, and then trying, to see how the people are reacting, and if it's working fine, and then they know how to do it, they most likely then will find other countries where they can follow their approach. What's left at the end of the day. People have to understand in which direction we are heading, and if they understand, I think then it's wise, to purchase physical gold, and physical silver, of course, as well, and to put it on the side. And if you have bigger, big quantities you want to purchase, or you really want to have a real insurance, especially for people like in the States, I think it makes sense, to diversify internationally into safe jurisdictions which still respect private property rights outside the banking system. And when it comes to that, I believe Switzerland, as the last remaining direct democracy, is offering the best safety when it comes to that.
Well, Davey hit on a subject that's near and dear to your heart, and that's Greece staying in the eurozone.
Claudio, my viewpoint the whole time has been that, a large part of what we're seeing going on between Greece and the rest of the EU is really just kind of grand scale kabuki theater, if you will. And I think ultimately, if you use the quote unquote follow the money rule, that ultimately the ECB banks are going, and the US is in the background also here, they're going to pretend and extend and kick the can down the road in order to keep Greece in the system. Because the reason I say that is because everyone points out, the 350 billion of sovereign Greek debt that has been shoved down the banks' throats, but no one talks about the derivatives, and the derivatives are kind of the hidden skeleton in the closet. Not only do the ECB banks have big exposure, primarily it would be to credit default swaps, but so do U.S. banks. I just believe that if they let Greece default, it's going to trigger the derivative firestorm that we know is coming anyway at some point. But I think this is an easy case for them to kick the can down the road. What do you think?
Yeah. At the end of the day, of course, we have to speculate on that topic because no one knows the future. But I see it the same as you do, and I also think what they want to achieve is really they want to centralize the whole system. So it does not make sense that they would kick out one country and that they would go back to their own currency and so on, and to get back to a kind of national structure. They really want to unify everything, and they want to gain more power. And the bureaucrats in Brussels, they want to they want to be fully responsible, and they just want to ignore the people. So I see it. At the end of the day, maybe I look at it from a different angle. But at the end of the day, I think, I fully agree with you, and you're right. With all these paper games and derivatives and so on. The risk is, is not if they would kick it out. Definitely, no one knows how the system would react, and if we would face, deflationary collapse, black swan, whatever. So no, I agree with you, Dave. Definitely.
Well, at this point, it's really no secret that all the markets are rigged, and the recent fines that have been issued by the courts against the too big to prosecute banks proves beyond question there is nefarious activity in all the markets on a global scale. And Claudio, how can we have any expectation of the actual value or worth of any item when the price of everything, especially stocks, bonds, and commodities, are all known to be rigged?
Yeah, rigged is, when you look at the commodities and so on, it also shows that really the real economy on the demand side is definitely going down. That's why you have the Baltic Dry Index, which is on a record low, and at the same time, of course, we have geopolitical tensions. When we look at Ukraine, Middle East, and the oil price, which has been crashed. Most likely because that I don't know if the Saudis want to show that they're still in charge, or that they will try to destabilize with low oil prices, Russia, for example, and all that stuff. So I think, it's a big, it's all artificial. I mean, look at the total debt in the system. I think right now we are standing at 200 trillion. I think 60 trillion up since 2007, and we have, I think, a GDP growth, and that GDP is also it's a bullshit number, basically, GDP. But GDP was growing by 15 trillion. So I mean, the rest, 45 trillion since 2007, basically went into the assets. Just money printing and propping up the markets, propping up the stock market. Allowing governments to redistribute money and to finance, to feed the poor. I don't know, to keep them quiet. But it's definitely it's not an investment. We don't have savings, and now we can see with this cashless society that saving is not. They don't want to let the people save. They just want to have a system where people are going to spend, where they basically can decide from one day to the other that they implement 6, 7, 8, 10% negative interest rates. So basically, they will take it from all. I mean, all the savers will be punished. I think that's really, really scary. And in certain countries, you can already see it. Italy, Russia, Spain, Mexico, Uruguay, France. I mean, they all came down. And you can even today, you can make a payment up to 1,000 euros. Or maybe, in Spain, I think it's $2,500, Uruguay $5,000, and France now came down from 3 to 1,000. So, I mean, there is a trend. I mean, we can always see trends, but we can see a clear opposition is growing here in Switzerland. We really have great people, conservative libertarians, which understand that Switzerland is heading in the wrong direction. And now they're really standing up, and we have more articles in the newspaper. We have more people writing, and we even have more people moving into politics, which are closer to our views than to the statist views. So I think overall, it's a good sign, And at the end of the day, I mean, it has to go. The question is always how worse does it need to become until the people will finally realize that they are completely enslaved, and that they should, that they should start not to obey any longer to what's coming from the government. And I hope they're going to do it in a peaceful way. But a free society, people need to understand what does it mean to be free, and they need to understand what it means to be that when you have freedom, that you also have equal self-responsibility, and that the government cannot give anything for free. And if and I still believe that people will realize that in the future, also in the Western world. And so it's a matter of time. I'm still positive. I think it can go down. It can become worse. A lot of people are going to be impoverished, especially the middle class, over the coming years. But to a certain degree, and I think then there is I don't see one world government and all that stuff. I really believe people will realize, and then they will oppose centralized government, and they will try and fight for non-centralization or decentralization. Or even, going back to kind of breaking up, the EU zone, going back into a kind of federalistic structure or national entities, stuff like this. I think that's a trend which we can see, which you also have seen, in Scotland with the referendum, in Catalonia and Spain. You even have certain areas in Germany, northern Italy, and so on. So I think these are all signs that nothing is over. That it's moving forward in the eyes one or the other way.
And it's been about 6 months now since the Gold Initiative, and with you referencing, the people coming to their senses at some point, and hopefully that'll happen. Are you seeing or hearing anything differently in the people that you interact with since that happened? Do you see more people awakening? Do you see people being exactly the same? What has it had any impact at all on the citizenry there in Switzerland?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to several, precious metal dealers here in Switzerland, which are focused on the normal retail market, and they basically all told me that they have, more purchases, from Swiss people. So that has grown steadily. I mean, it's still, it's not the masses. I think most of the people, they are still trapped in this collective corruption system. But we can see that we had more Swiss people buying physical gold. We also hear it in Germany that people are waking up and that they going and buying coins and bars. And at the same time, yes, we have a new initiative here, about questioning the actual monetary system. Okay, the idea would be, much more terrible because they want to empower the central bank even more than today. So basically, what they want to do is, get away with the fractional reserve banking, but at the same time, that the national bank would have full control over the money supply. I think, I think the Swiss are not going to accept that. I have no doubt that they will not accept that. But it just shows that that the people are not happy with the actual monetary system and that they are starting to question it because they understand that they are losing. That really that they are losing, and they can also see that the economy is heading in the wrong direction. They can also see that politicians are getting more power, and they see the surveillance. They see all these stupid ideas coming up with cashless society. Getting more power. We are not allowed to do this and that. So I think that's all sums it up. That people start to question, and when they start question, it's an opportunity for us to explain them. The monetary system. It's in discussions or in presentations when they will go out, try to lobby for that kind of initiative, and it will be with us to basically show that there are better ideas, and also to tell them that the actual idea they are trying to follow is a wrong one, and it's a dangerous one.
Dangerous.
And, yeah, sure, but at the end of the day, there is a discussion. There is a discussion taking place, and the Swiss people, people are not stupid. We see changes. We see more argumentations, from people that we still can, change. We still can change the situation, and that nothing is lost.
I don't think anything's lost at this point.
It seems like the potential black swans are lining up, waiting to land on the runway and torpedo all of these fraudulent fiat currency paper markets. What do you think is going to be the trigger point that causes this big, primarily Western, but it's really a global fiat Ponzi scheme to crater?
Hey, I really don't know. I mean, there are some guys out like Armstrong, and some others, and then you have the short-term debt cycle theory, and so basically they all believe that we're going to see a harsh September, October this year, that it might be possible that we're going to see a mini crash at the stock market. I really don't know. I mean, central banks are printing money. I think, when you look at who owns the assets, then you have basically central banks, and you have some state sovereign funds which are owning a lot of stuff. You have BlackRock, with a risk management tool, which is covering, 40% of all the assets, having hundreds of risk managers sitting behind the same tool. So I really don't know. And at the same time, we can see that there is a clear tendency that, people in power or the elites today, they really try to divide West from the East again. I mean, Ukraine is not getting better at all, and it's still, that even over here in Europe, people so far they are now convinced that Putin is the very bad guy and that he's responsible for everything. And I think that's only half of the truth. I think it's really a clash between American interests, NATO interests, and Russia, trying to divide again, West from East. And then, of course, we have, the clashes in the Middle East, which is turning the whole place into a bigger mess. I mean, it's not getting better there. And we have, Africa and, refugee ships coming over into Europe, on a daily basis. So I really don't know if we, a black swan. Of course, it can always happen. Also, that the people in power have strong ties, and they most likely can control more than they can control it. I don't know if they have. I don't believe they have everything under control, but they can print money and they can bail out. Too big to fail, and whatever happens, the system is still in place. But at the same time, I just see all the people in the Western world, let's say 99%, are just losing standard of living, losing their job. It's not getting better. I mean, it's definitely not going better. I don't see, the system crashing. I mean, as I said, no one knows. But I see more, social unrest and people just, struggling. We are poisoning these people because they don't have a bright future, especially the young guys. And I think that's why we have to reach out to the young people as well. Because if they refuse to go to war, then this place will be a much better place.
Going to war may be some of them's only option as far as garnering any kind of pay because there is no economy on a global scale. I mean, I'm not sure what the unemployment is in Switzerland, but I know that the numbers that they pump out over here are bogus, and you can't believe any of them. But I do know that the over 55 people are the only ones that are getting jobs here in the United States, and they're part-time retail jobs. And the youth unemployment here is on the rise. I mean, and once again, the only meaningful numbers that you can look at are in low-wage retail jobs, primarily part-time. I mean, and you can't grow economies on part-time employment.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the problem when you have still, the US dollar is the world currency reserve. So you don't need an economy, you just have to print money. And as long, the rest of the world is accepting the US dollar, you can send over, these dollars. And then, and if the money is becoming cheaper and cheaper, to lean out the economy. I mean, you look at industrial jobs, in the United States. I mean, it's a joke. And I think the only industry which is really, quite strong is, of course, the military industrial complex and some motor fabrication companies. I mean, that's the industry over there. And the military industrial complex, I mean, those shares, they were outperforming the S&P 500. So, I mean, it's a war, in a way, it's a war economy.
No, and I see it happening more on a global scale because of what you were saying. I mean, and now they're talking about just printing money for everybody. I mean, that was, isn't that right, Dave? I mean, isn't that what Hilsenrath or one of these talking head idiots said just in the last day or two? Just print money for everybody?
I don't know that he said print money for everybody, but he was scolding the middle class for not spending money. How does someone spend money that they don't have?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's not the case that the middle class is getting. I mean, like the economy, I had a conversation with Steve Jacobson, for example. He was saying, already 7 months ago that, 20%, that the big multinational companies, they get the money for free, almost for free. And then, of course, all the backbone of an economy, the small and mid-sized companies, that they have to pay higher interest rates. And it has an effect on their competitiveness, and but they are basically also financing, the big multinational companies again, which have strong lobbyist groups and protectionism, and they even have it's a terrible system we are in.
It really is. Dave, do you have anything else?
No, I think this has been a great session. Thanks for your time, Claudio.
Hey, you're very welcome. It was really a pleasure, and hopefully, we can talk once in the future, a bit longer, and would like to hear what you are doing, and so it's a pleasure, to have a conversation with you.
Likewise, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, and we've been speaking with Claudio Grass from globalgold.ch, and Claudio, why don't you tell them a little bit about what you got going on over at Global Gold?
We used the time, so we've just built up, we founded a new company called Global Gold Hong Kong Limited. So, I don't expect a lot of business, and I also don't tell the people that they should move under Hong Kong law. But the aim was really, we always try to think ahead, to have a plan B available if something is changing, and so we always, you prepare a bit in advance, and Hong Kong basically is a kind of plan B, so that if we would see in the future that something would change over here in Switzerland, for example, which is not happening from today to tomorrow. But then we would already have structures in place, and we could offer a second jurisdiction to clients that they could become a client of us and sign up. So that has been quite some work. And at the same time, I'm working on more storage options, kind of key box storages. I'm looking into different jurisdictions, which makes sense. So we always fine tuning. The goal is really to offer the best possible protection. And as I said, the way we look at the world is, we are very much in love when it comes to liberty and freedom. So, and at the same time, the Austrian School of Economics, and we are still publishing our quarterly reports. Having a kind of not, I don't like to call it educational, but I also learned a lot, and I was reading a lot, and I think it absolutely makes sense, and it's very clear, and it's understandable, and also the ideas are much better, and that's what we are writing about. So, and we hope that we can motivate a lot of people, also to think about how to go further, but not in the direction of totalitarianism and centralization, but how to go further, with decentralization or even non-centralization, and to promote liberty and the principles which are related to it.
That sounds great. That's what we need. We need more people thinking about liberty and freedom and individualism as opposed to collectivism, centralized governments, and totalitarian governments, which is what's happening today. And I certainly appreciate all your time today, Claudio, and Dave, your time as well.
And your time too, Rory.
Yeah, thank you both. Rory, it's always a pleasure. Dave as well. And so the easiest way to break the system is that we don't accept a monetary system which is only in favor of a few guys. Let's go back and put some money in physical gold, put some money in physical silver, take that money out of the system. So they cannot use it, to finance wars and to bribe politicians and to play their agenda. We only need a few people, 2, 3, 4, 5% in the Western world. When they realize that, then the system goes down, and then it's over. And I think this is what we're going to see anyway in the future. I still believe. People are not stupid; they're not dumb, and they also understand that that they have, they also have dreams. And so I'm at the end of the day, I'm still optimistic, and I think it might take a few years, but at the end of the day, it will hopefully lead towards a more free society when the people realized it and understood what it means and what it stands for.
That's one of the things I like and respect most about you, Claudio, is the fact that you are 100% optimistic. You only look for and see the good and what the potential is in people and in our society, and regardless of what's happening. In the past conversations that you and I've had, you've always said that people are not stupid, and we will overcome all of these evils that we're facing today. And I certainly appreciate that very positive message. So, and with that, and we'll talk with you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Claudio.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Rory. All the very best, and speak soon. Take care.
Yes, sir.